Or maybe you are a new business owner looking to implement new marketing strategies for your business. Or just looking for personal development tips to advance in your career. I am Vanessa Parra, your host, hospitality and travel marketer, and now your marketing bestie. I will be spilling the tea on everything I know on how to land that marketing job. I will share behind the scenes of being a Latina in marketing and shedding light on barriers and struggles people of color face, especially when you're the only one in a corporate setting. I will also touch on manifestation tips that have helped me attract my dream career/life. But most importantly, I will be spotlighting other influential Latinos and people of color marketers from our community. So grab your cafecito or drink of choice and let's listen in. Welcome to Influence with Cultura podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Influence with Cultura. I am your host, Vanessa Parra. How is your week going? Today, I'm recording this podcast episode at 4 in the morning because it's been a crazy week. And this past weekend, I needed to spend time with my parents and brother in the Central Valley. So it's just been a very crazy week. But I definitely am committed to this podcast. So that's why I'm here, ready to record and provide you with some value. So let's get started. So in today's episode, I talk about what does a social media manager actually do and social media management for beginners. If you haven't had a chance, make sure to listen to episode 14, Social Media Manager versus Content Creator, What's Better? I go into great detail on different social media/marketing jobs that I've held and the different tasks that I've had to manage as a social media manager. And again, depending on the industry, the position, and the business that you're working for, your tasks may vary. But I give a lot of examples of different things that I did as a social media manager. So I highly suggest that you listen to episode 14 if you haven't had a chance. Now, for today, pretty much it just depends. Again, depending on the business, the industry, if it's a corporation that you work for or a small business, the different things that you do as a social media manager would vary. But for the most part, you would be in charge of understanding the employer's targeted audience. That's the only way you'll be able to succeed in your position. Every employer sets their own KPIs, key performance indicators, which can be from brand awareness, reach, driving traffic to your website, or driving traffic to an email list, maybe trying to grow an event and get attendance. It just really depends on the industry, the business, and the overall goal. So I can't really give you an exact step-by-step of what being a social media manager includes because, again, it just varies. It's very important that you have a good understanding and grasp of all the different social media platforms. You do not have to be an expert on all platforms, but if you have at least a basic understanding and knowledge, that will definitely help you succeed in your career. But if you're able to specialize in a specific platform, you will grow faster in your career because you'll be known as an expert in a specific field or industry. So, like for me, for example, because my background was or is travel/hospitality, and I worked with a lot of group businesses and targeting meeting planners, I'm pretty much really well known on LinkedIn for knowing how to use LinkedIn. I've trained salespeople on how to use LinkedIn. So for me, I guess my expertise would be LinkedIn, but I'm also all about video. So short form video like TikTok, Reels, stuff like that. So that's another area, I guess, that I'm really good at or help implement video strategies in different companies. So again, just being diverse in your social media knowledge and really focusing on one platform could really help you succeed in your career. And again, depending on the position that you're in, You might have to know some video editing, some graphic design, copywriting, so you can create all the copy for the different posts. I don't know about you, but if you haven't heard of Canva, Canva is honestly a lifesaver because I personally do not consider myself a graphic designer. That's not my strong suit, but I love Canva because you're able to create templates or graphics, or there's already some pre-made graphics that you can literally just swap out the colors to match your branding colors, add a logo for the business that you're working for. And it's just a very easy platform to create flyers, presentations, social media graphics, and so much more. So if you haven't had a chance, make sure to check out Canva. As for video editing, I think with time you'll get more comfortable, especially if you're creating short form videos on TikTok and Instagram. It'll definitely get you, it'll definitely help you grow in your video editing skills because now I'm able to go into other video editing softwares and have at least some basic knowledge on how to edit videos. So I highly suggest that you just try editing videos on your own time just to get a little bit familiar with all these different platforms. And again, depending on the business that you work for, sometimes you're just going to be repurposing content. So, for example, say your company creates blogs, they might provide you with a link to a blog and you'll pull out some copy and add an image and publish a post on LinkedIn or Instagram. Or if they have a YouTube video, maybe you can cut clips and turn them into Instagram Reels or TikToks. So it just really depends on the overall content or if you're part of a bigger marketing team or, again, the goal of your employer. Something that you should consider as a social media manager, you'll definitely be in charge of community building, ensuring that there's engagement with all your followers, answering questions regarding your product or services that your employer offers. You want to collaborate or get to know complementary businesses that maybe you can partner with to help grow your audience. You really want to be engaged with your followers because you never know. One of those followers can be a very loyal customer and they can become your brand ambassador. And the fastest way to grow and get sales is by other people talking about you and sharing how amazing your services or products are. So definitely remember that you are a community builder. Another fun thing about being a social media manager is that you most likely will be a creative director. Again, depending on the business, I shared a story in, like I mentioned, in episode 14, where I had a position where I really didn't like it because I didn't have the opportunity to be creative. Everything was given to me. I just scheduled the post. So for me personally, that wasn't the best social media job. But when you work for smaller companies, or maybe for a company where you're the only marketer or social media manager, you might have the freedom to become the creative director. And when I say creative director, it can vary on the different tasks. So I'll give you some examples. In the past, I've been in charge of photo shoots, video shoots, and once you get familiar with your employer's business goals and marketing plan, which is something that you should highly review as soon as you get hired, ask for their marketing plan, ask for their business plan if they haven't given it to you, because all your social media campaigns are going to come from that. So you can't just go in thinking like, oh, I know how TikTok works, or I know how Instagram works, and I know how to go viral. No. For a business, you really need to understand the goal of the company, what they're trying to sell, what their goals are, and that's how you determine what social media campaigns you're going to implement. So, again, once you review the marketing plan, the business plan, and also branding guidelines, very important, especially if you're working for a large corporation. I wouldn't want you to spend all this time creating content for them, when I say them, like leadership, to come back and be like, that does not fit our brand. So please remove that. And you just wasted all this time. So really review all that stuff before creating any type of content. But again, going back to creative director. So in the past, I've been in charge of directing photo shoots, video shoots, hiring models. And in order to create these videos or these different lifestyle photos to repurpose on websites or social media posts. I've also worked with influencers. So, again, depending on how big your company is, maybe they might have a dedicated position just for influencers, or maybe the company you're working for doesn't even work with influencers, but you as a social media manager, because you're so diverse and you're so passionate and you're good at your job, you know that working with influencers or content creators or user generated content, that's going to help grow your following, have more loyal customers, and just drive more traffic to your website. So that's another task that you might have to take on where you manage influencers. And as a social media manager, you're definitely going to have to manage the content calendar. And again, depending on the industry, the business that you're working for, they might provide you with a content calendar and then you base your content around it, or you might have to create it for your employer. But again, the only way you can do that is by reviewing their marketing and business plan and really understanding what their customers really care about, what you're trying to sell, and then base it off of that. And then, even if you don't like it, as a social media manager, you're pretty much a customer service representative, especially in the day of age that we live in right now. People love to express their opinion on social media. And anytime a customer or follower is unhappy with your brand, which hopefully is not that often, they'll definitely go to social media and leave some nasty comments or send you a DM complaining about services or products. And that's where you have to come in and try to diffuse the situation and figure out what is the best way to help them. Who can you introduce them to? Maybe if there's an issue with billing, direct them to the right person in finance. Or maybe they had a horrible experience during an event or something like that. Then you'll know what manager to introduce them to, and then that manager can fix the situation. Or if you really don't know at that time, let them know that if they can just please provide more information and get their name, phone number, and email, and that someone in management will be reaching out to them. And always follow up. Make sure that if you take all that information, you talk to the leader or manager in charge of that department, and you tell them, like, hey, we have a customer who has a complaint. Can you please call them? Follow up with them maybe a day later and ensure that they actually followed up with the customer. Because the last thing you want to do is tell your follower or customer that you're going to help them and then not help them. And I get it, managers and leaders get busy. So that's why it's very important that you constantly follow up with those managers. Another thing that you need to consider is that you're pretty much in charge of reputation management or crisis control. So there's been situations where without you intentionally doing it, you might post something that might offend some customers or followers, which that will probably be very minimal, again, depending on the business that you work for. Because if you're working for a business where there's like multiple people watching everything that you post, that probably won't happen. But sometimes things do happen and you need to act on it quickly and figure out how you're going to handle that. Or maybe another customer complains about your business that you work for and he or she starts leaving nasty comments about your business, and then that alone goes viral. You're gonna have to immediately shut that down. When I say shut that down, not like delete their comments, but really check and do research and investigate like what's going on, why are they complaining, and see and reach out to them directly, privately, not like in front of everyone, and figure out if you could get them on a phone call or email them to resolve that situation right away. And once it's resolved, go back and leave a comment so the public can see that you actually did something. It's not good to delete other people's comments unless it's like vulgar or they're like cursing or whatever or harassing people, then yes, definitely block them. Don't even let them be part of your community. But if it's a genuine complaint, do something about it and then acknowledge them, apologize for their frustration, and tell them how you're going to fix it and make sure that everyone sees that in a public comment. Another good skill to have as a social media manager is to become a really good salesperson because you may not realize that you have the power to turn that follower into a customer or to help that follower decide if they want to purchase your product or services. So I'll give you an example. I worked at a theme park and we had different memberships, and there was one that was lower in price and there was a second one that was higher in price. And there was times where those customers were considering to purchase a membership and they would send us DM asking us like, oh, what's better? Or I'm considering purchasing this membership. But then if you start asking questions about what they actually care about or the benefits of the membership, then you can really tell them like, yeah, I know you're looking at this membership because it's probably cheaper. However, I realize that you really enjoy going to Halloween or attending Christmas events. With this other membership that costs more, you'll be able to attend all these events for free and you can bring a friend for free on Fridays. So imagine by you providing that information, that customer or potential customer will take all that information under consideration and maybe if they were thinking of purchasing the lower end membership, by you telling them that if they paid for the other one that costs more, that they would be able to get more out of it, then at that moment they'll be like, you know what? I'd rather just pay more and be able to have fun with my family and enjoy all these fun events for the holidays. And you just made an upsell or a sale in general. So just remember that you are a salesperson as well. And anytime a customer or follower asks questions regarding products or services that your employer offers, that's your opportunity to upsell or guide them to the right path. Now, depending on the business that you're working for, you might also be in charge of paid ads. For the most part, all the positions I've worked for, an agency has been the one to manage the paid ads, but I have been um, playing with paid ads myself just because I would like to be more knowledgeable with paid ads. So I'm not going to say I'm an expert with paid ads because I'm not. And I don't think there's a such thing as being an expert. Paid ads, just like anything related to social media, it's all about testing. So just keep that in mind. But you might be in charge of paid ads. So it'd be great to take some courses or just practice on your own, maybe with a low budget, just so you can practice and see what works. And then again, depending on the business that you're working for, you might have other tasks. Something to always consider is maybe you'll be managing the website as well or email management. So if you are, I would definitely suggest that you get familiar with Google Analytics because that's really going to help you review what's working in your social media campaigns, especially with paid ads. You'll be able to see like what links people are clicking at and if it's directing them to the right page. You'll be able to see a lot. So I highly suggest that you get more familiar with Google Analytics. I believe they have a certification that you could take for free. So just do a simple Google search, Google Analytics certification, and I suggest that you take that. And lastly, I think you should get really familiar with social media analytic reports. There's some that you can pull directly natively from social media platforms. However, like for Instagram, I think it only shows you for the past 90 days, and then after that, you can't really see it. So the best way is if you use a social media management planning software, so like Hootsuite or Sprout Social or Metricool. It will allow you to create different reports on different social media platforms or all the social media platforms. You could pick specific dates and you'll be able to analyze all your posts and see what's performing the best, who has the best, which one has the best engagement, the most reach, the most views if you're publishing video. And you, once you review those reports, which I highly suggest that you do, you run them at least once a month, you're able to improve each month because you can see what worked the previous month and how you can implement the same strategy or a better strategy for the following month. But again, depending on the business, it could also vary on the season. So, for example, if you work for a water park, Obviously, the summertime, you'll get more engagement as opposed to when it's cold or raining outside because most likely you're closed. So people aren't really thinking about going to a water park in December. They're more worried about Christmas shopping or attending like fun Christmas events. So just consider that as well. Well, I think that's it for today. Again, I highly suggest that you listen to episode 14, where I give more real life examples of different things that I've done as a social media manager. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And please make sure to follow me or subscribe to this podcast. That's the only way I'll know like which episodes are doing well, what kind of content you want to hear. And if you haven't had a chance, make sure to follow me on social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, at the Latina Travel Marketer. On LinkedIn, it's just under my name, Vanessa Parra. And let me know like which episodes really resonate with you, which ones you found valuable, what topics you would like to hear, and that way I can create those episodes for you. Well, have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Hasta luego.
Thank you so much for listening to another Influence with Cultura podcast episode. Want more? Head to influencewithcultura.com or go to my show notes to subscribe to my newsletter so you can be the first to know about any new programs and episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on IG at the Latina Travel Marketer so more kick-ass Latinas and women of color marketers can know about this podcast. If you are ready to uplevel your marketing and social media career, I invite you to book a discovery call to see how I can best support you. Now remember, you are an asset to any organization and or ready to start that business. You got this. Talk to you next week.